So let me start today's video with something that might feel a little bit confronting to you, but may also start to make a little bit of sense by the end of this video. So you and I, we do not attract people randomly, into our lives. Not in love, not in work, and not in friendships. And I don't mean this in a moralistic or like a manifesting blame way. I mean this diagnostically. Because if you look closely at your own history, you will probably notice something. Because if you look closely at your history, you will probably notice something interesting. There will be different faces, different timelines, and different names, but the same sort of themes of people who are appearing in your life. So there could be the type of people you are attracting who could be unavailable. Maybe they are not showing up for you in a way that you want to, as a friend or as a date or as a lover. There could also be a a certain type of people who is really, really very emotionally intense and takes up a lot of your time, trying to manage their emotions. There could be the type of person who always appears, who needs your saving, so you are like the white knight, their savior who always needs to go to their rescue. Or you could be the type of person who attracts people who really, really admires you from afar, or really likes you, but they do not want to commit to you on a level that you actually want to be committed to. So when you talk to people, they might call this, it could be just your bad luck. It could be just meeting people that are not, your type. Some people say, it's chemistry. I always only attract or feel attracted to people who are really, really very hard to get, or, play hot and cold games. And other people will say that, this is their type of people. Like, how we see in pop culture and in movies, where, girls will sometimes say that, the bad boy type is my type. But from an energetic and nervous system perspective, attraction is actually information for you. It is actually a data point. It is feedback from your own magnetic field, which is really unconscious, a combination of your energetic blueprint, your type of person you are, all your life experiences up until this point in time, the emotional wiring and the nervous system wiring that you have up until now, as well as a combination of all the unconscious expectations that you have been having, throughout your life. So in my work, I use the energy archetype mapping to actually really understand what does it mean, or what does your magnetic field actually look like. So before I move on, my name is Sonia, so welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you have been a regular watcher, and welcome, if you are new here, and I hope, this video is of use to you in some way. So going back to my energy archetype mapping, there are 5 different energetic archetypes that exist, in this space, and each archetype carries a dominant way of moving through the world. So a first group or first archetype of people, they are wired to actually grow, to initiate things, to grow towards things, to expand. The second type of archetype feels very deeply. They are able to flow and adapt to many different sorts of environments that they are in, and many different kinds of people, which is, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. All these archetypes have their pros and cons. So the third type of archetype is the one that is actually very stable. They like holding space for people and holding the kind of energy in the environment. They are built to ground, to create reliable structures and containment. The fourth type of archetype is that of refinement and withdrawal. So over time, they are able to kind of sharpen, things, shape environments, shape the space that they are in, to actually, draw a certain kind of boundary around the space that they are in. The fifth type of archetype, last but not least, are wired to actually stay very alert and very vigilant to what is actually going on around them. So we are all attracted to what feels familiar to us, to what our own energy archetypes had to grow up with. Okay, so for example, um, an archetype that is avoidant would be someone who actually finds it difficult to express their emotions, to show their emotions to people, and could be someone who struggles with vulnerability, whether it be their own type of vulnerability, like their own, admitting of fears and admitting of weaknesses and things like that. But they could also struggle with vulnerability shown by other people and do not know how to respond to that. An avoidant archetype, okay, tends to attract emotionally unavailable people. Okay, the emotionally unavailable people actually mirror their own difficulty with closeness and their own difficulty with being available for other people. That's the avoidant archetype. And another type of archetype that could be, one that you are familiar with is one that is very deeply intuitive and sensitive. So archetypes like that, they may attract emotional intensity or inconsistency, or even people that takes advantage of them, okay, and of their goodness. Because overgiving, this archetype tends to overgive, over nurture, and constantly not be able to keep their own boundaries. Okay, and it's possibly something that they have also been experiencing throughout their lives. It could be they had to overgive or over nurture to get someone's attention. They had to, they had their boundaries, in some way actually violated before. And it could be a certain sort of survival pattern that, they learn to cultivate from a very young age. Okay, so there's this archetype as well. Then there's another archetype they may be familiar with. Okay, so this tends to be, pretty common in younger people, but I think it can, be something that actually you see throughout your entire life, no matter the age group. And this archetype actually carries a lot more fire, okay, than other archetypes. Okay, so they could be people that attract a lot of admiration, a lot of passion, a lot of desire from other people, and they themselves could be very passionate, people. But the downside of this archetype is that this passion is not contained and it's not built on anything very stable. So, you see, like, you watch movies or like you experience it in real life where you're very, very drawn to someone, and and it's a very passionate sort of affair, but there's nothing really to ground the relationship in anything solid, and after a while the lust or the attraction just fizzles out. Okay, so it may start very quickly, but it may burn off very quickly as well. So attraction, okay, in general, it reveals our imbalances, the energetic imbalances and nervous system imbalances within us, and what we are actually familiar with before it really actually reveals true desire. Okay, and this is where a lot of people get stuck because they try to choose better. Okay, they try to change the way they actually attract people, without first understanding their own energetic field and understanding that it is this energetic field that they put out that is unconsciously choosing for them. Okay, and if you do not, or you are not aware of this energetic field, it can be very difficult to change it. And when you're not aware of this energetic field you put out, no matter how much you try to change things on the surface level, on the conscious level, you will still end up kind of drawing people with some qualities that you don't want to attract. Okay, so it's the reason why you would probably have experienced it yourself, or hear other people actually telling you this, your friends, that no matter what they do, no matter how much of personal growth that they try to put themselves through, the same types of people keep coming into your lives. They keep dating the same types of people, who don't seem, who seem all right at first, but then the same dynamic then shows up after a while. And this is not because you are a weak person or a terrible human being or failure, whatever it is, but because your system recognizes familiarity faster than safety. Okay, and familiarity is not necessarily a good thing. Okay, it isn't always healthy, and it doesn't always inspire you to live a bigger, more expensive life. Because if you think about it, familiarity is something It's literally what the word says, right? You are familiar with that particular thing. But being familiar or being used to something and, a way of behavior, a way of treatment doesn't mean that that way of behavior is actually correct or is actually good for you. Okay? So, when you overlay this entire picture of your magnetic field and your energetic archetypes with nervous system diagnostics, the picture becomes even clearer in some ways. Okay, so a regulated nervous system is often selective. Okay, it may feel very calm, very boring, very quiet. But the thing about a regulated nervous system is that it's grounded in true safety. So if you look at people around you who are like really, really calm and they are very, very like okay with being by themselves and things like that without actually saying they are lonely, they are actually very, very regulated. They have very regulated nervous systems. A dysregulated nervous system, on the other hand, is very magnetic, okay, usually because of how emotionally up and down and volatile and unpredictable it actually comes across. And it can feel very magnetic and very intense. This is where you get all the, the avoidant types, the hot and cold types, the unavailable people. Okay, and you do attract people like that who have a dysregulated nervous system themselves, because your own nervous system and your own familiarity patterns are actually very, very much the same way. So there's a possibility of confusing urgency with chemistry, fast forwarding behaviors with intensity and connection. You feel like, wow, this person is showing so much of interest in me from the get-go, so intense, they may actually feel the same way that I do in terms of the emotional connection. So a dysregulated nervous system, okay, mistakes the familiar types of pain and familiar life experiences for home. And what I mean by home, it's groundedness and it's safety, basically. So until you make safety become very familiar to yourself and to your nervous system, your attraction patterns will continue to teach you the same lesson and show you the same things over and over again, just in very different forms. So you've probably heard of the saying somewhere, okay, that life will keep presenting the same lessons to you in different forms until you finally learn from them. And this isn't like, the universe or your life trying to punish you, okay? It's giving you feedback and giving you hints and giving you data points that, whatever you've been doing is not working. And it's your nervous system and your own energetic field, which is unique to you, is these things actually trying to guide you towards healing, towards wholeness, towards an attraction pattern that actually really, really works for you. Here's the empowering truth. When you stabilize your energetic and your nervous system, attraction changes without you having to put in effort. It's not because you suddenly raise your standard sky high, but it's because your energetic field stopped broadcasting the same signal as you did before. It is now operating on a very, very different frequency and attracting or putting out a signal to a very, very different group of people. Okay? You no longer have to force boundaries. You don't have to keep reminding people of your boundaries, and you will no longer meet people who keep violating your boundaries. And it becomes very natural for you to actually assert your own boundaries. You don't have to do these things, force things with people whose energy is actually, functional, whose energy is actually made up of one that is healthy and is, regulated. So when your nervous system was drawn to familiar dysfunction, it can be, pretty easy sometimes to actually draw in people who somehow make that a self-fulfilling prophecy for you. Another thing that you can see happen is that, safety and stability actually replaces intensity. So your nervous system stops confusing excitement and thrill with threat and, urgency and all that kind of, exciting, volatile things with genuine connection. Because when your nervous system is healed and it's regulated, you start to see things for what it is. You start to see the hot and cold behavior for what it is. For someone who is not going to show up for you in the way that you want them to, who probably has their own issues and is probably avoidant or unavailable, themselves, who genuinely cannot form a healthy connection with you because they themselves have not learned how healthy connection actually looks like. So when you start to see things for what it is, You no longer draw them or attract them into your system. And this entire shift, okay, will come about not because you are like, doing manifestation spells or like certain rituals or like wheeling it into consciousness. It just happens naturally when you address the root causes, which is your energetic field and your nervous system patterns. Okay, so attraction, the point that I really kind of want to leave you with is attraction is not something that you can fix or you can like just change on the surface. You do have to understand yourself on a deeper level, okay, and learn to read your attraction patterns as information, data points for yourself. And the question that you should be asking yourself is, what do you then do with the data points? Do you continue, looking for more of those same data points, or do you want to change your data points? Is something that you should be looking at. Another thing is about being intentional. Being intentional, once you understand your pattern, your energetic layout, and how you are as a person, you are then able to become more discerning about the people that you actually hang around with, the people you actually date. And you become clearer on who you actually want to have in your life experience and who you just rather not have. So this then leads to an amazing, beautiful kind of conclusion where you get to be the person who chooses who stays in your life or not. And I don't mean this in a, it's now time to cut people off and ghost people and things like that. Those are unhealthy patterns. Okay, those are unhealthy patterns from a dysfunctional sort of system. What I'm saying is that you now have all the data points, you are looking at it objectively, you are intentional, you then know who is it that really, really aligns with you as a person and who actually doesn't. So you stop being, surprised by, people's behavior. You stop being surprised by who actually shows up in your experience. You start consciously choosing who can stay in your life as well, because, you have that power, okay, right now. So when you change your internal frequency, you naturally align with healthier, more fulfilling connections. And this is where the true transformation begins. So this is where I can, come in and help you. Okay, we can look at your energy archetypes together, determine what kind of energy fields you're actually putting out, unconsciously, and drawing in people that you may not want to be drawing in. And from there, then you start to, take back your power, take back your control and take back your life, and decide who you actually want to have in your life experiences and who you do not want to have in your life. Okay, so all the details about my one-on-one energy archetype mapping is down in the description box. I will be dropping more energy archetype mapping plus nervous system related diagnostic books on relationships and romance before the spring of 2026. So all the links will be down below. And so I really hope this video was helpful for you and it inspired something in you. And I hope that this starts to give you some thoughts as to why certain people are actually in your life and why you keep drawing in certain people. So here's Sonia signing off, and I will see you in the next video.